Wakefield in West Yorkshire. We're just outside West Yorkshire Police's headquarters on the day that Storm Eunice is hitting the UK, is hitting Wales, England, Scotland and so on. And the brave lady accompanying me, some would say foolhardy, but let's stick with brave, is Charlotte Hales. Charlotte, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, Bernard.
I am so sorry that I've dragged you out on this storm hit day. We're going to have a little walk through Wakefield, and you are a former Chief Inspector here at West Yorkshire Police. We'll talk a little about that. You are now the Justice and Blue Light lead for Virgin Media O2, and we'll talk something about that. And then we'll wrap up. We've already found an ice cream, so you know we've got that to sustain us. Enough about me though. Let's move down here, and as we walk, tell me something about your police career and the highlights.
Yeah. Okay. So.
And it is so blowing. Let's try and get into some shelter, slightly more sheltered area in a second. So your career.
Yeah. So I worked for West Yorkshire Police for just over 16 years, and it was an amazing 16 years, really challenging, and just being able to make a difference to people and people's lives. I always felt growing up in my teens and early 20s that I had a greater purpose in life, and being a police officer really allows you to help people in a way that you never thought possible. I met so many fantastic people along the way, you know, wonderful colleagues and lifetime friends, and people who are as equally passionate about policing and making a difference to the public. So I guess some of the personal highlights for me was when I worked in safeguarding, both earlier in my career and towards the end, helping the most vulnerable people. And some of those people that I worked with and the work that's ongoing around safeguarding is very, very current, particularly around domestic abuse, offences involving children, you know, serious abuse, county lines, child exploitation. So really being able to make a difference in terms of directing those investigations and how the officers were working.
So latterly, in your career in the job in policing, you were a chief inspector. You were a detective chief inspector, and you were leading on safeguarding and public protection, having also worked in, amongst other things, intelligence. So, and you got to DCI within 16 years. So that seems to me a pretty fast-track career that you were pursuing.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to get on the Police High Potential Development Scheme at the end of 2012, so it really helped progress my career. And then I spent the last four and a bit years as a DCI, and I did those 3 years in intelligence at counter-terrorism policing, which was, you know, a completely different view of policing, working at a regional and also national level, and probably, you know, one of the real personal highlights for me of my career working in that time, you know, going into the network in 2017, which was obviously quite a big year for the country in terms of terror attacks.
The sun has now come out, just as you're remarking on that, and I'm just wondering whether the sun is going to allow you just to unwrap a little in terms of you know, the zip is very securely right up against your chin. No, I'm not suggesting you do, but the weather is changing so actively. Wind, rain, sun. We'll probably have some snow before we finish, and who knows what else. So there you were describing quite a fascinating and fast-track policing career, and yet here today you are now the Justice and Blue Light lead for Virgin Media O2, and so there was something that led you to leave the job, a job that you give every impression of loving dearly.
Yeah, you're correct there. I really love policing. I still love policing, and it's a huge part of who I am. And it broke my heart to leave, Bernard. But I didn't actively go looking for another job or another career. You know, a mutual friend shared a role on LinkedIn back in January last year, and it was all to do with digital transformation and technology in justice and blue light, and policing being a big part of that. And I looked at it, and it really excited me because it was an opportunity to continue the work that I've been doing on a national level in counter-terrorism policing, and something, you know, that I knew or felt that I could make a real difference. And I feel, you know, technology is a huge part of not just now but our future, and COVID has certainly proven the importance of digital transformation to help public services be the best that they can be.
And so you handed in your warrant card, you joined Virgin Media 02 I want to say about a year ago, but you'll correct me on the exact.
Yeah, it's about 6 months ago.
6 months
now.
ago.
Yeah.
So a little more recently than that.
Yeah.
And how have you found things? Is there a moment where you were scrabbling around for your warrant card but it wasn't there? Were there occasions when you thought, goodness me, what on earth have I done?
I haven't felt like that yet, I'm pleased to say.
Well, let's hope you don't.
It's completely different. It's a very radical change. I'm really fortunate that I've found something that I can do that still connects me to policing and enables me to have a sense of purpose and try and make a difference on a different level. I'm really fortunate as well that I work with a fantastic team of people, and I think the view can often be from policing out is that, you know, people in private sector don't have that same connection to policing and to public service. But what's been really refreshing to me and what attracted me more is that actually I work with a group of people who all have their own personal stories. So our head of public sector, for example, his father, his grandfather, his uncle were all full-serving police officers, and the team around me have their own connections and their passion and drive to make a difference. So it's having that around me as well that makes me feel part of something that's really special, that really wants to try and make a difference.
So I'd like to explore that significantly more in a moment or two, but I will at this stage just remark that we are now, famous last words, slightly more out of the fiercest of the wind, and we are in front of Wakefield Cathedral here. And Wakefield, I know from previous visits, is full of unexpected delights, and I say unexpected because there are some who might think, Wakefield? Why on earth?
Yeah.
Would you know, people want to go there, but it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great little city. It really is. You know, we want it to be close to Leeds. It's got nice suburban areas. The schools are good. I've got a stepdaughter, but it's great for travelling. And you know, I'm doing a lot of travelling now around the country, so close to the motorways, and nice restaurants and bars in walking distance. So.
And so Wakefield Cathedral as well, and my recollection from a visit about 6 months ago actually is that museums and art galleries and things like that as well, so lots to see. Let's come back then to your time now at Virgin Media 02, where you were talking about a particular colleague who has, through, you know, his father, I think you said grandfather, and previous generations, male and female, worked in policing, and you know, there's a public service ethic there, and you gave the impression also of public service ethic wider than that within Virgin Media 02. So you're feeling comfortable amongst like-minded folk in Virgin Media 02 then?
Yeah, no, they've really embraced my experience and background. You know, there's been that investment in me to try and connect with policing and bridge that gap that is there between private sector and policing to help policing to realise digital ambitions and go on that transformation journey with them. So no longer just providing, you know, like a transactional service of products, but actually widening the conversation in line with things like the National Policing Digital Strategy and driving transformation and supporting it as well, so that they can be the best they can be and have support, because there's a recognition that they can't do it all themselves.
So tell me now, what is it? What are the products and services that you and your team can provide that you would have dearly loved to have access to just a few months ago, whilst you were not just a DCI in West Yorkshire, but also prior to that? So what things would a Charlotte Hales, as a serving officer, have been crying out for that you can now offer?
I think what I've learned in the last 6 months is just being absolutely amazing in terms of what technology can do for policing. Some of those things are just really small and can make officers' lives so much easier in terms of their efficiency and effectiveness, and I think that investment in technology will just make a far better service to members of the public. So just thinking a little bit differently, for example, around how police officers can connect with members of the public. Not all members of the public need a physical visit, not all members of the public want a physical visit from policing, and it's using technology that removes the need for officers to travel round. There's also maximising technology such as mobile devices and devices that can move, to make sure that actually officers haven't got to go back into a police station and can be seen by the public and respond to those calls for service when absolutely needed. You know, similarly, what I've realised is actually how much willingness or desire there is in Virgin Media O2 to be more innovative and to work with police forces to do proof of concepts and to try new technologies and ideas that will help transform what they do. And actually a lot of those conversations can happen without any cost to policing, and it's helping policing to understand that, you know, that trust is there. We have our own code of conduct that really aligns to the code of ethics. Something else, you know, that really endears me to working for private sector is actually they've thought about all of those things that could be considered or frowned upon and thought we're going to be an ethical company, so that aligns to my moral values and the life that I led as a police officer.
So what I picked up there, I don't think you quite used the word free, but so yeah. If somebody in policing, no matter where they were, rang you up, the meter wouldn't start running on the moment that you're taking the call. There's so look, there's a free offer from Charlotte there. So we'll carry on walking a little bit more around the cathedral here, and so what I'd like to turn to, you've recently been elected onto the Tech UK Justice and Emergency Services Committee. So along with, from memory, about 10 or so other representatives, broadly private sector suppliers to policing and justice and the emergency services. Just careful as we go down the steps here. So what are your hopes then for your time now that you've been elected onto that committee?
So I think, you know, looking at the other people who've been elected, it's a really exciting bunch of people who all have varying backgrounds, and there are people with policing experience there. There are others who have expertise working with, you know, customers in policing and really understanding the challenges and how we as a collective of, you know, technology companies can influence and help solve some of policing's biggest problems. So, you know, it's not about any one individual supplier. Actually, it's about what we as a community can do in support of driving that digital transformation, answering questions to policing who might be looking for some support about a particular issue. So working on that committee will be hopefully influencing some of the topics that we discuss and explore this year, working with the team and the at Tech UK and the wider supplier community.
And one of the things that's fascinated me about Tech UK, I've known about them for quite a while now, and we'll pause here for a moment or two, is it's an example of private sector who instinctively, you might imagine, are all competing frantically with each other, but actually talking and looking to share thinking and collaborate, still retaining that competition edge, but looking to achieve for the greater good. You know, the ways in which the vital public services, not just of policing but of justice, of the wider emergency services and so on, can find ways of helping policing, and through helping policing help the communities in which we all live. So early days, you've only recently been elected, so I'm not yet. If I may, I'll perhaps come back to you in a couple of years and ask you, Charlotte, so what have you and the Tech UK committee achieved in those last 2 years? When we were talking beforehand, I did ask whether you had a favourite charity that you might like to mention as we conclude, as we are now doing our walk. The clock is sounding in the background. Tempting fate, it's not raining, it's not particularly windy. So your charity, what is your charity?
Yeah, so the charity close to my heart is Shine Cancer Support. It's a small charity that supports young adults in their 20s, 30s and 40s who've had cancer diagnosis. My big sister was diagnosed in 2017 with aggressive breast cancer, and it really impacted our lives in a great way, and that charity supported her and supported me as well, getting through what was a really difficult time. And you know, seeing the impact on young people and cancer diagnosis, it's life-changing. So that charity is really focused on supporting a particular group of people, particular age range, to all manner of cancer diagnosis.
So the charity again is called Shine
Cancer Support.
Shine Cancer Support. And how is your sister now?
Yeah, she's doing well now, thank you.
Fantastic. So good news on which to conclude this short walk around Wakefield. Charlotte, thank you so much for your time, and thank you also for braving what is supposed to be the storm of 15 years for us to come out and film this. Thanks you so much.
Bernard, thank you.